I wanted to begin by just talking somewhat informally about why I wrote this book, and then I'm going to do a brief reading from the introduction. In 1994, I published a book called Where the Girls Are, and it did very well. And it was about the mixed messages that baby boom girls and women got from the mass media and our own love-hate relationship with popular culture. As a result, I did get a lot of speaking engagements at colleges and universities, but pop culture, as we all know, has a pretty short shelf life, and especially after the turn of the century, and certainly by the middle of the past decade, people were starting to ask me what I thought about Buffy or Xena, not to mention The Bachelor, all the makeover shows, and then more recent shows like Desperate Housewives or Mad Men, and asked if I was going to write a sequel. And so I thought, Also, my daughter was moving through her teenage years, and I saw the increasingly retrograde images on offer for her, images that frankly bore zero resemblance to her or to her smart, savvy, accomplished friends. But I was also noting at the same time, me being a baby boom mother and having a teenage daughter, how the media, through magazines, TV shows, films, and advertising, divided us, baby boom feminist mothers against our girl power daughters, especially around the issues of obsessive consumerism and sexual display, the girls gone wild phenomenon. So I wanted to explore the roots of this also. The book begins in the early 1990s, and what was very interesting for me was to be reminded that this was a time of incredible feminist ferment. Women's fury at the way Anita Hill was treated during the Clarence Thomas confirmation hearings, making 1992 the quote-unquote year of the woman, when more women ran for Congress than ever before, when Susan Faluti's book Backlash was a bestseller, when the Riot Girl movement had taken hold, talking back to male domination in the punk rock movement, when there were Take Back the Night rallies at college and university campuses all over the country. So I started at this moment, was reminded how much kind of feminist energy there was in the air. And as I moved farther along and got closer and closer to the present, I was struck by how, over time, how effectively feminism, a social movement that has done so much for women and for men, for that matter, has been so vilified in the media that many young women regard it as the ideological equivalent of anthrax. So I wanted to trace how did that happen. I also teach and work with young women, and I've seen that we once again have what Betty Friedan famously called a problem with no name, meaning millions of young women, the girl power generation, have been told that they can do or be anything, yet they also know their most important task is to be slim, hot, and non-threatening to men, that there is a walk of shame on college campuses for girls, but not for boys. And once they get out in the workforce, they learn that there is still pay discrimination, inflexible workplaces, women more than men slotted into low-paying dead-end jobs, and a glass ceiling in so many lines of work. They also get the message loud and clear that the absolute last thing they should embrace is feminism. They have been intimidated, actually, to shun feminism, when I think in their hearts they know we still need it. And so we have a need and a desire that is being censored. So what I wanted to do was pinpoint what it is that remains unspoken, but that is still bothering so many of us, and to give a name to what's coursing through our popular culture. This message that you can do or be anything you want as long as you conform to very confining ideals around femininity and you don't want too much. So I was gratified when in its recent review, Newsweek said, and I quote, "Enlightened sexism is the perfect description for a feeling young women have long struggled to name. It's sure to dominate the vernacular for years to come. End quote. Well, here's hoping. So what is enlightened sexism? It's a new, subtle, sneaky form of sexism that seems to accept and even celebrate female achievements on the surface, but is really about repudiating feminism and keeping women, and especially young women, in their places. Enlightened sexism insists that because women have allegedly achieved full equality with men, and the battle is over and supposedly won, it's now okay, even funny, to resurrect retrograde sexist images of women, and especially young women. Lurking in most of this media fare is the message that feminist politics is no longer necessary. It's passé. It's so 1970s. And it's also even dangerous to women, when in fact a host of issues from pay inequity, poverty, and violence still affect millions of women. So I wanted to take on this media myth that the work of the women's movement is complete, and I wanted to take on this new, sometimes very subtle, and sometimes not so subtle at all, sexism in the media. And especially, I wanted to make fun of it, because I do think that humor, especially for women, is a very powerful weapon. So that's a brief background for the book, and I'm just going to read a brief excerpt from the very introduction of the book so you get a feel for it. Spring 1997. It is 8:12 a.m., Saturday. The feminist mom, who looks like she just got shot out of a wind turbine and has a cheap Chardonnay hangover, is making pancakes for 4 8-year-old girls who have had a sleepover party. Let's just say that she's not in the most festive mood. Then, blasting from the other room, she hears what has become the faux rap anthem of that spring. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want. She peeks around the corner to see the 4 girls singing and dancing with abandon, sucking in girl power with every breath. At that instant, she saw the post-feminist zeitgeist that would envelop her daughter's generation, and she wondered, should she be happy that they're listening to bustier feminism instead of watching Barbie commercials on Saturday morning TV? Or should she run in, rip the CD out of the player, and insist they listen to Mary Chapin Carpenter or Annie DeFranco instead? This was the Spice Girls moment and debate. Were these girly frosted cupcakes really a vehicle for feminism? And how much reversion back to the glory days of pre-feminism should girls and women accept, even celebrate, given that we now allegedly had it all? Despite their wonder bras, bare thighs, pouty lips, and top-of-the-head ponytails of the sort favored by Pebbles on the Flintstones, the Spice Girls nonetheless advocated girl power. They demanded in their colossal intercontinental hit Wannabe that boys treat them with respect or take a hike. Their bold-faced liner notes claimed that the future is female and suggested that they and their fans were freedom fighters. They made Margaret Thatcher an honorary Spice Girl. We're freshening up feminism for the 90s, they told The Guardian. Feminism has become a dirty word. Girl power is just a 90s way of saying it. They proclaimed that New Age feminism meant you have a brain, a voice, and an opinion. And hot pants. All right, fast forward to 2008. Talk about girl power. Millions of women and men voted for one woman who ran for president and another who ran for vice president. The one who ran for vice president had 5 children, one of them a 4-month-old infant, yet it was verboten to even ask whether she could handle the job while also tending to a baby. Other issues, like whether she ever read a newspaper or really could see Vladivostok from her window, did seem a tad more pressing. At the same time, we had a female Secretary of State, and the woman who had run for president became her very high-profile successor. There were female CEOs, a woman anchoring the CBS Evening News, and female attorneys, surgeons, police chiefs, and judges all over dramatic TV. On reality TV shows like Survivor, female contestants battled fire ants and iguanas the size of golf carts right alongside the men.